Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. So we continue to study the book, What the Buddha Taught. This book, What the Buddha Taught. And the Chinese is Fato Tek Kai Si. So we are on to chapter 3. No, chapter 4. The third noble truth, Nirodha, the cessation of dukkha. So we all understand dukkha now, by now? Do you? Do you understand when you experience dukkha? Do you remind yourself, this is dukkha? How do you do? How? Then what happens after that?
For me, it's like a little aha moment. It's like, oh, now, and because of your mini lesson on the 12 links last
Yeah.
week, it's like, oh, Lori, you're just stuck in this whole craving and this whole ill will and anger thing. You just need to get yourself together. So it's just a moment of realization.
Moment of realization and start again. That's what Laurie said. Laurie, you got stuck again. Yeah, come on, Laurie, you got stuck again. And start again. Yeah, what can we do, right? Except start again. It doesn't seem that we have much choice, right? The only option is to start again, right? Yeah, so wonderful. Yeah, I've been using the word dukkha a lot. I remember when I finished my long course just now in January. I went to say thank you to the conducting teacher, and then he said, "Time goes fast, right? It's 21 days already for you." I said, "Yeah." I said, "Not when I'm in dukkha." Not when I'm in dukkha, the time stays. It seems that the time stays and doesn't pass. Yeah, because when we experience dukkha and we sort of find that we are drowned in the dukkha, it's very difficult to convince yourself that this will also pass. And this will pass very soon, because a lot of times it seems that it stays on forever, right? And that's even more dukkha. So we come to a very sort of positive part of the whole teaching is, wow, there is a way of, there is the cessation of dukkha. Dukkha stops, dukkha disappears. So this is the third noble truth, is the cessation of dukkha, nirodha. So in here, always, almost everybody, when people talk about the third noble truth, is always talking about nibbana or nirvana. And it's very strange that nirvana is the thing that I least want to talk about, because I haven't experienced nirvana, and it's very difficult to talk about something that I haven't experienced. And because I always think that whenever something that you haven't experienced and you talk about, it's just, literal. It's just words. It really doesn't carry much weight and doesn't carry much meaning to me, to myself. But there is still something that that one can learn from understanding the literal meaning of nirvana or nibbana. So, you must have read this chapter 4 over and over again, because I kept saying that we come to this, and eventually we come to this now. So, do you want to share your experience first? Or is there any passage that you are being drawn to, or you have much thoughts about, that you want to share with everybody else?
Yeah, I'll just start us off tonight. I have to say I went back to this particular sentence over and over again for the last few weeks. There's a discussion on page 43 about happiness and what is happiness and how nibbana can be happiness. And Sariputra says, what happiness can it be if there is no sensation? Because nibbana does not have sensation. And the very last sentence there, that there is no sensation itself is happiness. Because I just find that so appealing, because we're so conditioned to always feel like we have to have a reaction. We have to feel something, you know. What are your feelings? And are you feeling good? Are you feeling bad? Are you feeling fine? Are you feeling sad? And this idea that maybe just that beautiful neutrality is itself something.
Yeah.
I found that very appealing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually very appealing. Remember when, since you are talking about this, remember last time when we explored the 12 links, we were trying to find out how you can exit, right? How you can exit from these 12 links, as if we're driving on this roundabout. Where is this exit? Taking the first exit, second exit, third exit? So remember that we actually saying that the easiest, well, there is really no easiest. There is this way that we can actually practice, is to come back to the sensation and not being, not judging the sensation by pleasant or unpleasant, or fall into the trap of craving for more pleasant sensation, or fall into the trap of rejecting the unpleasant sensation. And once we start to actually train ourselves to face the sensation with neutrality, that means with objectivity, and just being aware of it, then gradually you will start to notice that your pain tolerance actually increases. And your tolerance to all this unpleasantness really strengthen. And I think this is actually those preliminary steps to this sentence, right? There is no sensation itself is happiness. When we think about happiness, as I always say, or even in the book it says, it's so difficult sometimes to explain these concepts, because when we try to explain these concepts with words, we already being bound by the words, by the limit of the words, because words have limitation, and also because we all have a different kind of understanding of words, right? So we are also bound by that limitation. And so a lot of times there is a lot of misinterpretation, or excessive you see, it's difficult. It's so difficult. Or what do you call it? Amplification, like make it too serious, exaggeration, yeah. Or sometimes not exaggerated enough. You know, you you downplay it. So that's why it's so difficult to really to come out of that mode of understanding and learning. Very difficult. And that's why that even this sentence, it seems to be very attractive, that there is no sensations itself is happiness. But you will say, I'm constantly feeling sensations. I'm constantly being drawn by the sensations, or I'm constantly being bothered by sensations. But where's my happiness? Then you will start to doubt, where's my happiness then? Especially when we don't feel well, right? Being young and healthy is okay. You're strong and healthy, then that's okay. You still have a long way to go. But you know, at our age, we say, oh gosh, I used to be able to lift up 40 pounds. Now I can't even lift up a carton of Coca-Cola. I remember a few weeks ago I went shopping and I bought whole flat of Coke and whole flat of ginger ale. By the time I get back to the parking lot here, I had to call the nuns to come out to help me. I said, I can't lift them. I used to be able to take 2 flats, no problem. But now I can't. And at that time, that is a very, very strong sensation that I'm incapable to do that. Good thing that I didn't, amplify it, exaggerate it, and keep on, smoldering it. So otherwise I would say, oh darn, you're useless and blah, 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 blah. Good thing that I didn't go on. I said, please come and help. I need help. I can't do it myself. So when life is sweet and sound, it seems to be easy to find that neutrality. But when life is not sweet and sound, and it's very difficult. I mean, when life is sweet and sound, it's easier to find. But when life is not sweet and sound, like constantly experiencing dukkha of aging, constantly experiencing dukkha of these aggregates, falling apart, and then you will say, oh gosh, darn, old age. I wish then there's this dukkha of not getting what you want, right? I wish, or if I could, then where is that neutrality, right? Yeah, but yes, you're right. I'm so glad that you can actually pinpoint something that you really liked in the passage. Great. Anybody else? Laurie. You're trying to see if there is somebody putting their hand up.
There's any hands, yeah. Thank you, Sifu. When you said that we all have a different understanding of words sometimes, it made me think right away to the very beginning of this chapter. On page 35, when the question is posed, but what is nirvana?
Mm.
And it goes down sort of about halfway.
About the fish?
Yeah, about the fish.
Yeah, I love that.
I do. I love it a lot.
The fish and the tortoise,
and
right?
It makes so much sense.
Yeah, so
because everybody has a different experience, everybody has a different viewpoint.
yeah,
And I just thought it was really nice.
yeah.
And that last sentence, it goes on page 36. So the Lankavatara Sutra says that ignorant people get stuck in words like an elephant
In the mud. Wow. Can you imagine the elephant in the mud? How can you come out? Because the elephant is so big and so heavy, right? And it gets stuck in the mud. I love this simile, this fish and the tortoise. The tortoise just came back from the land, and it was telling the fish that he just returned to the lake after a walk on the land. The fish said, you mean swimming, right? The tortoise tried to explain that one couldn't swim on the land, that it was solid and that one walked on it. But the fish insisted that there could be nothing like it, that it must be liquid like this lake with waves, and that one must be able to dive and swim there. So that's the fish perception of the world that he lives in. And he cannot understand that there is other world besides the ocean or the lake, the water. So he doesn't know. It's limited. So same with us understanding the words, right? Yeah, I love that story. I can vividly see that story, the tortoise talking to the fish, and the fish just arguing. And the tortoise tried to explain and still cannot get it through. You cannot get it through. You know, when I see this simile, when I see this metaphor, it reminded me of us when we are ignorant, when we are all blinded by our own views, own wrong views. We can't hear anything. We can't see anything. And sometimes it could be very detrimental. Not sometimes, but a lot of times it's actually very detrimental, or it is. Why it is detrimental, maybe I'm using the wrong word, but it could be detrimental because when one is blindfolded by one's wrong view, or they cannot hear because they hold on to that view, and that view just become a big, thick iron curtain. That big, thick iron curtain actually stops you from seeing through to the truth. And you get so stuck in that experience that you think that, yes, I am right and I am correct. And this is what should happen and this is what should not happen because of that view. And so this is just the view of the fish about the lake. But no matter how hard the tortoise tried to explain to the fish that no, the land is solid and it is not fluid, and nobody can swim on land. But it can't see it. It can't understand because he has this limitation. At that time, the fish is limited by his own perceptions of existence, the world that he existed in. So as I always, this is one of my motto, how to actually conduct myself, is when somebody tells me that I'm wrong, possibly the first time I will say, I'll be very angry. No, I'm right. I'm totally correct. And then the second time I say, oh, really? I'm wrong? No, I still, at the back of my mind, I still think that I'm right. And then when the third person would come and say, hey, Yin Kit, you shouldn't do it this way, blah, 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 blah. I said, oh, third person coming to me saying such thing, I better stand back and look at it again and see what happens. See that if I'm really not correct. And so it is really not easy to do this and to admit that because we are blinded by our own views. A lot of time are wrong views, right? Yeah. Okay, great, good. I hope that we don't have that, those thick curtains in front of us all the time. Anybody else?
Thank you, Sifu.
Yeah.
No, I can't find it. Here we go. Page 40, the second paragraph towards the end. There is a path leading to the realization of nirvana, but nirvana is not the result of this path. Yeah, I really liked that one. Because it's a bit of a puzzle.
Yeah, there is a path leading to the realization of nirvana, but nirvana is not the result of this path. You think, really? But what am I doing here? But what am I doing here? As the commentary says, actually nirvana is beyond this path and beyond fruition. A lot of times when we practice, when we do things, we would like result, especially good and pleasant results. At that time, then you got stuck. You got stuck again, and one will never get to nirvana. Because nirvana is really beyond any result and beyond any path. But would you ask yourself another question? Since it says this is a path leading to the realization of nirvana, but nirvana is not the result of this path, then why do we still have to walk on this path? Answers. You bring this on. Dukkha. No. Why?
Well, I found the answer in the next sentence right after.
Oh, really?
I don't know. It made sense to me. You may get to the mountain along a path, but the mountain is not the result of that path. I don't know if...
Yeah, that's right.
That's quite helpful.
I thought you did.
It's not
Good
from
that
me.
you found the answers there. Yeah, you may get to the mountain along a path, but the mountain is not the result, not an effect of the path. The mountain is there, right? So the destiny is already there. Is already there. The destiny is already there, but that is not the result of this journey, right? So it's a very different thing. It's not the effect of the path. Then, still, then we don't have to walk on this path. Since the destiny is not the result of this path, why would it necessary to keep on walking on the path? Just a minute.
I think we're not wise enough to just realize ourselves, so we need, it's like the raft. We need the raft to help us there.
Good. Yeah, you need the raft to help you there. Once you get to the other side of the bank, you should leave the raft. The raft helps you to get to the other bank. The raft is not the result of the other bank, right? Yeah, great. Ma?
I was thinking, when we walk on a path which it's counterproductive to think about the results. And also this is the only way leading to final goal, but thinking about the result is counterproductive. So it's that's
Yeah.
my thought.
Yeah, thinking of the result is counterproductive. And the most important thing is really keep walking on it. The path is productive by itself. The path is productive itself. And when one is walking on the path, one is helping one to be productive, you would say, huh? And so then there is this direction, and the path is that direction for you to follow, for us to follow. If we do not have the direction, then we are sort of like a chicken with no head. We lose our direction. So yeah, it's good, right? Good. So I want to share with you a passage from this book, The Vision of Dharma, Buddha's writings of Nyanaponika Thera. And in here, it says the cessations of suffering. It says the extinction of craving, the stealing of the thirst for existence, the total destruction of greed, hate, and delusion, and with it deliverance from future rebirth. This is the deliverance from suffering. This is the highest goal. That is Nibbana. And it says in here, when you go through this whole chapter, you will find that actually a lot of times they describe Nibbana as not something else. Nibbana is not this. Nibbana is not that, right? So that's why a lot of people have this idea of, very negative, very sort of pessimistic, but when we look at it when we look at it more from here, because we know that speech really can only express our world in such limitations. So it is very difficult to really use words to understand what is Nibbana or what is Nirvana. So when you folks actually practice meditation, and sometimes you will have experienced this kind of complete stillness, nothingness. It seems that there is so much like peace and ease there, and that you can say that at that time the mind is so contented, the mind is so quiet, the mind is so focused, the mind is so clear, and so still, and so so many this kind of qualities there. You can say, Nyanaponika said, you actually at that time, there is this very faint idea of the taste of nirvana. But it could be like, it's gone, right? So that's why he says, nirvana really cannot be described in positive terms. He said it can only be experienced and realized here and now in this life, and this is called visible nibbana. And he said, this is when the one who has attained holiness knows, once there was craving and that was evil. Now it is no more and that is good. When there is no more craving, then that is good. No more unwholesomeness. Once there was hate and that was evil. Now it is no more, and that is good. Once there was delusion, and that was evil. Now it is no more, and that is good. So thus dwells the Holy One, stilled in his lifetime, extinguished, cooled, blissful, with a holy heart. That means when there is no dirt on this rope, it is a clean rope, right? So what it means, that actually echoes to what people actually give a definition about Nibbana. Nibbana is, it says, is the total quenching, extinction of thirst, right? And a quenching of the activity of the grasping mind and its related release. So it says, this is truly the release of worldly suffering and rebirths in samsara. So when you are released, then you are not tied up. When it says here, when there was delusion, then that was evil. When there is no delusion, then that is good. And you think, is that a duality? Is that a relativity? You know, this class is not meant to be like this. We need to think. Some students think that this class is so boring, so they don't want to come because they rather hear me, expounding the Dharma and blah, 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 blah. And he said, I rather you spending 2/3 of the time or 3/4 of the time of the class, explaining the third noble truth, the first noble truth, and I don't like this. I don't like this format. So I have students telling me this. So I said, yeah, okay, never mind, doesn't matter. But this is what I want, is we think about these things. We see if we could think about it, out of the box. No. You cannot think out of the box? No. I'm just thinking the answer is no. You said no, and then I thought you said you cannot think out of the box.
Sorry, I was trying to answer the first question of, is it are they just opposites? Like, is it still a presentation of a duality? Yeah. And so that was my no. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because I think that duality is within the samsara, so it's creation and destruction, but outside of that is what we're trying to describe Nibbana with these kind of negative terminologies,
yes.
right?
Yes.
And I was so struck as you were speaking about how adept the Buddha was in putting these four truths in this order. And you've talked about this before, and and it hit me even more, because the first one, dukkha, the Buddha is saying you have to look at the misery first, and then you go, oh yeah, this really sucks. Okay, why is it so terrible? And then the Buddha tells you why it's so terrible, and then he doesn't give you the instructions of how to get out next.
No.
Yeah, the Buddha says, oh no, there are these really wonderful
practices,
qualities
path,
and practices,
right?
and understandings, and then he's going to give us the way to get them. And so it's just so beautifully crafted.
I know.
It's
I know.
amazing.
No human being can do that except the Buddha. Yeah. Yeah, we talk about that all the time, right? 16 years we've been talking about that. You have been asking me, why would dukkha come first? Why not causes of dukkha, right? Yeah. So, yeah, I think the Buddha was so wise to put this in there, like in that sequence. So here, and here also, I hope I get it right. Yep. And in this book by Professor Peter Harvey, An Introduction to Buddhism, this is actually a very old book now. I think he's probably get a newer version, right? This, big, wow, really? So mine is really baby one. Yeah, this is the 2007 version. So yours is like a Samyutta Nikaya, yeah, or bigger than that. Okay, and he says in here, Peter Harvey said on the introduction to Buddhism, he said Nibbana means extinction or quenching, being the word used for the extinction of a fire. And the fires of which Nibbana is the extinction are described in the fire sermon. Fire sermon. And that is a beautiful sermon that we all really need to actually look at. And I have the fire sermon here today. And this fire sermon is actually talking about the Buddha and Kassapa. So you have heard about Kassapa. Kassapa, one of the very prominent students of the Buddha. But before he became the student of the Buddha, he was a Brahmin hermit who actually worshipped the fire god and also keeping a fire dragon. And Kassapa was the chief of this whole group who actually worshipped the fire god. So one day, Kassapa was in this Ravula place, and the Buddha was there and asked Kassapa, "Can I stay in that room where you keep your sacred fire going, non-stop going?" And Kassapa, seeing the Buddha so gracious and so beautiful, and he thought to himself, "Wow, this is a great teacher, a noble teacher." They call such a person a muni. And he said, should he stay overnight in the room where the sacred fire is kept, that serpent, that dragon, that fire dragon will definitely kill him, and he will perish. And then he said to the Buddha, he said, I do not object to you staying in that room, but you should know about that dragon fire. The fire dragon, he will kill you, and I should be very sorry to see you perish. And the Buddha said, "No, I'm okay, so please let me stay in that room." So the Buddha went into the room and stayed there. So in the middle of the night, and of course we all remember, so the Buddha he does not go to sleep until like early in the morning. He does not rest, right? Remember the last watch of night, and he will just rest for a couple of hours, 4 hours, from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the morning. So he was meditating, and then he was in this strong mindfulness. And during the night, the dragon came, and belching himself with rage, with his fire and everything, and trying to burn down the whole room and burn down the Buddha. And the whole room was like filling with flame and smoke and everything. Eventually, the he actually burned himself down instead of burning the Buddha down. So then Kassapa actually saw that room came up with light and flame, and he thought, wow, there must be this fire dragon, burning the Buddha down. But he didn't know that actually this fire dragon actually burned himself down with his own anger. So and then when he was so sorry, and then in the morning the Buddha actually walked out, and he showed the body of this fiery dead fire dragon to Kassapa, and said to Kassapa, his fire has been conquered by my fire. So beautiful. And Kassapa thought to himself, wow, Sakamuni is a great, great samana, and he possesses high powers, and he's not holy like me. Kassapa still thinks that he's not holy like the Buddha is still not holy like him. So there was a festival, and Kassapa thought, the people will come here from all parts of this country and will see this great Sakamuni. And when he speaks to them, they will believe in him and abandon me. So Kassapa becomes more and more envious. So when the day of the festival arrived, the Buddha retired and did not go to the festival. And the Kassapa went to the Buddha on the next morning, and he said, so why did you not come to the festival? And the Buddha said, oh, why did you ask me such question? You didn't want me to come to the festival, right? Because you think that when I was there, people will abandon you. So that's why I didn't go to the festival. And wow, the Kassapa thought, wow, this Muni, Sakamuni, he can read my mind. He know all these secret thoughts, but he's not holy like me. He still thinks that the Buddha was not as holy as him. So the Buddha said to Kassapa, he said, Kassapa, you should see the truth. You should start seeing the truth and accept it not because of envy, but in your heart you should ask yourself, is envy holiness? Is envy a holy quality? And you should know envy is the last remnant of self. Wow, this is so beautiful. That has remained in your mind. Remnant. Just minute remnant of self that remains in Kassapa's mind. And that stops him from reaching Nibbana. And Kassapa totally surrendered at that time when he heard the Buddha taught that, when he heard the Buddha said that. And he became so remorseful and surrendering, and his envy just completely became eradicated. And he bowed down to the Buddha and said, Buddha, our master, let me receive ordination from you. And the Buddha said, yes, I will ordain you, but you have to inform your group first. You have to inform your group first, your group of students, followers. And so Kassapa went to the group and said to them, he said, I'm anxious to lead a religious life under the direction of the great Sakamuni, who is the enlightened one, the Buddha. Do as you think best. So students, you do whatever you think that is best. So then all these they call Jatilas, and all these students, they said, oh, wow, we also conceived a profound affection for the great Sakyamuni. And if you will join his brotherhood, we will do likewise. So in some of the literatures, it says 1,000 of these Jatilas, actually these people following Kassapa, went to join the monkhood under the Buddha. So then Kassapa has two brothers. When they joined the monastic, the sangha, they threw all their whatever you call them, the thing that they worship, into the river. And these two brothers were living in the area downstream, in the downstream area. And they saw all these things, worshipping things flowing in the river, coming from upstream. He said, what happened with my brother? Something must be happening to my brother. Otherwise, how can all these, things are flowing in the river? So they went to see Kassapa. They came to hear and what has happened. They went to the Buddha. The Buddha, seeing Nadi and Gaya, the two brothers, who had actually practiced severe austerities and worshipped fire, came to him and told. And then the Buddha said, everything, Jatilas, is burning. The eye is burning. All the senses are burning. Thoughts are burning. They are burning with the fire of lust. There is anger, there is ignorance, there is hatred. And as long as the fire finds flammable things upon which it can feed, so long will it burn. And there will be birth and death, decay, grief, lamentation, suffering, despair, and sorrow. So you can see here is when there is fire, there will be all this grief, lamentation. When there is no fire, then there is no grief. There is no lamentation. And then that's his happiness, right? So considering this, a disciple of the Dharma will see the Four Noble Truths and walk in the Eightfold Path of Holiness. He will become wary of his eye, wary of all his senses, wary of his thoughts. He will divest himself of passion and become free. So this is a beautiful sutta. The fire sermon is called the fire sermon, and you can easily find it online. And actually, many teachers have expounded on this fire sermon. And Ledi Sayadaw, when he actually expounded the fire sermon, he said, what is it burning? So he's burning with the fire of passion, fire of hatred, and blah, 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 go on. And he said, seeing thus, monks, the well-informed noble disciple is disgusted. Is disgusted with the fire. Is disgusted with the eyes. Is disgusted with the forms. Disgusted with the eye consciousness. Disgusted with the eye contact. So disgusted with the eye and what the eye see, what the eye feel, what the eye makes the mind feel. So he's disgusted with the feeling that arises dependent on the eye contact, whether pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. So on and so forth. He's disgusted with the ear, with the nose, and so on and so forth. And he said, because he being disgusted, he is dispassionate. That means he doesn't have this passion because of this eye consciousness, because of this eye contact, because of this object. So he becomes dispassionate. And because he is dispassionate, he is free. You see, all these disgusted, dispassionate, it seems to be on the negative side. But because you become disgusted of all these, the aggregates, right? And then you can withdraw yourself from being passionate of all these contact, of these messages that these aggregates bring on. And because you become dispassionate, and because you are seeing the nature of all these existence, then at that time you free yourself. So it doesn't tell you how to untie your knot, but when you are not tied up, then you are free. Right? So being freed, Lady Silo continues to say, is that being freed, he knows he is free, and he knows birth is then destroyed. And the holy life has been fulfilled. What should be done has been done. There is no more of this. Or you can say, there is no more of any future lives. Right? So, and he said in the commentary, he said, while using the word disgusted sounds a bit strong, he said, the meaning is that once one sees that the senses arise out of sense contact and resultant sense attachment, which may be low and base, one becomes disenchanted and one turns away from such sense consciousness and desires, and which also lead to false expectations dependent upon ignorance. Right? So this fire sutta actually tells us when there is no fire, then there is freedom and there is coolness. So Nibbana or Nirvana is just the other side. I shouldn't say the other side. Once I say the other side, then there's this duality. It's no duality, it's no relativity. And this actually transcend that fire. It's just like the Buddha not being burnt by the fire, because he has his own fire of nirvana. See? So you know that there is two kinds of nirvana, right? One kind of nirvana is nirvana with a remainder, and there is a nirvana without a remainder. So you know what is a nirvana with remainder? That means one still has to come back to as a human life, one more human life or 7 more human lives. That is a nirvana with remainder. That means in the Sotapanna or Anagami, they attain nirvana in Sotapanna or Anagami, but still there is a remainder of fetters that needed to be eradicated. So that nirvana that they attained is not the ultimate nirvana. It's a nirvana with remainder. Then there is the nirvana without remainder, that is the arahat, and also the Buddhahood. So of course the ultimate one is the Buddhahood, right? And being an arahat, that is the arahat nirvana, and still that still needs to progress to Buddhahood. So that is nirvana without remainder, which is, of course, when you say nirvana with a remainder, that means after death, this death of this life, that it has to come, he or she has to come back again. So it happens upon death. That means there is a rebirth or reincarnation again for those who attain nirvana with remainder. Okay, so nirvana is you can say, I think I read somewhere, I can't remember. It is the only permanent reality. The only permanent reality. So everything else is impermanent, but nirvana is the only permanent reality, and that makes sense. That makes sense, right? So why does it make sense? Because why? It makes sense because the Buddha has attained nirvana already, and we will never find another Sakyamuni Buddha anymore. He's gone there in that nirvana state, and he's free from everything, and so there's no point of him coming back a rebirth or reincarnate, and so that nirvana is a permanent state. Not existence. Don't say permanent state of existence. Then that is wrong. Okay. This nirvana thing is actually I always think that it's kind of a catch-22 situation. Is that what you describe? Is really you don't. It's really, I think. It's not a waste of time, but it's kind of a waste of time to talk about nirvana, because it's for me, I think spending time in really practicing is really more and more important than trying to spend time in understanding the literal meaning of something that we still have a long way to go to get there. So a lot of times when students come to me, or when we come into a discussion about nirvana, I say, I don't know anything about nirvana, so can we stop discussing this? Can we not discuss this? Really, I mean, I don't have any experience in nirvana, and so why discuss this, right? So but because this is the third noble truth, so we need to explore a little bit on this. So actually, Nibbana is really beyond duality and reality, and it is really beyond our conceptions of good or bad, right or wrong, existence or non-existence. And the more you describe, the more you define, actually, the more you get yourself confused. That's how I feel. And I think the most important thing that we actually need to learn about Nirvana is the complete elimination of dukkha, is the complete quenching of thirst, of craving, is the complete extinguishing of fire. I think that's that. To me, I think that's the best definition that I could hold on to, and of course, when one experiences the extinguishing of fire, for example, in the glimpse of a moment, you say, "Oh wow, that is Nibbana," right? And you can pat yourself and say, "Oh, well done." And when you start to see something that you you actually crave for all the times, and it's being put in front of you, and you just look at it and say, I'm quite peaceful, and I'm very, very calm, and I don't have any urge to go and grasp it. I don't have any urge to possess it or wanting more. And you could say that is a moment of quenching your thirst. During the hot summer, when you have one sip of cold water, it's like, wow, it feels so good. That quenching of thirst feels so good and so grounding. So I think this is because of the limitation of language, and it is actually so difficult to. The more we describe, I think the more we confuse ourselves, because it's unfathomable. Yeah, it's very difficult to fathom, really. So if one day we find ourselves, we could actually extend a bit of our desire, extend a bit of our hatred, extend a bit of our illusion and ignorance, and we are getting there. So anything else? And I want to, so keep on reminding you is to, in order to free oneself, there is this passage here. It says, 39 on the second paragraph. He said, the fifth line. He knows that all those sensations will be pacified with the dissolution of the body, just as the flame of a lamp goes out when oil and wick give out. So he says here, experiences a pleasant or neutral sensation. He knows that it is impermanent, that it does not bind him, that it is not experienced with passion. Whatever may be the sensation, he experiences it without being bound to it. Right? So here, it actually strengthens our confidence in the practice of in the practice, and also the understanding from these 12 links, putting our attention or developing our awareness in the sensations, whether it's physical or emotional, because what it says here, he knows that all these sensations will be pacified with the dissolution of the body. So why attach to it? Why being led by it? Why being trapped by them? Why being fooled by them? Because on the dissolution of our body, these will all disappear. And just like an oil lamp, when oil runs out, when the wick runs out, disappear. There's nothing we can do, right? So at least we know that there is one point that we can actually put our total focus on, our attention on, and try to work on it, right? And it's actually very important that you can get you find a point that you can actually rest your practice on. Like when you do Anapana, a lot of students say, I cannot feel my breath, because they're trying to find the breath. Why do you need to try to find the breath? Why can't you just feel the breath? Right? And when the breath comes out, you touch us there, you feel the breath. When the breath goes in, it touches there, you feel the breath. And you feel the breath. You're not trying to find the breath. And people try to find the breath, and you feel this expansion and contraction. The breath is manifesting itself in the body. That expansion and the contraction is the feeling part of the body. That tells you that you're breathing in, you're breathing out. Why do you need to try to find the breath? The breath is always there. You don't need to find it. And here, that means you rest that sensations, that's the feeling. Sensation is the feeling, Vedana, right? So the feeling part, the feeling could be emotional, could be physical. And when you're trying to find something, you will never find it. Because it's so difficult to find the breath, because the breath is formless, the breath is colorless. Where can you find the breath? Here, 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 here. You can find the breath everywhere in your body. If you're quiet enough, you can feel the breath everywhere. But at least you can feel the breath here, or you can feel this expansion and contraction. Then you know that you are breathing in, breathing out. You're breathing in, breathing out. That knowledge is an experience, right? So don't underestimate that knowledge, and not trying to find it, jumping here and there, trying to find it. So I sometimes I cannot comprehend. People, why do you need to find your breath? Where the breath is always there. So don't try to find the fire when the flame goes out. Nirvana is beyond all terms of duality and relativity. It is therefore beyond our conceptions of good and evil, right and wrong, existence and non-existence. Page 43. And continues, Sariputta once said, "Oh friend, nirvana is happiness, nirvana is happiness." Then Udaya asked, "But friend Sariputta, what happiness can it be if there is no sensation?" You see, we always depend on sensation for happiness. Sariputta's reply was highly philosophical and beyond ordinary comprehension, that there is no sensation itself is happiness. Right? That's what Versha said. Yeah. So you have to see what's the conversation between Sariputta and Udayi, right? Then you will see how wonderful that sentence is. So, to be realized by the wise within themselves, not to be realized by studying the book. You see, our own concepts is actually a box that frame us so much, box us in so much. It's so difficult to comprehend some of these concepts. It's very difficult. So don't try. Just know, quenching of thirst, right? Extinguishing the fire is Nibbana. When people ask you, what is Nibbana? Oh, quenching the thirst. Putting out the fire is Nibbana. Full stop. Thank you for listening. Okay, anything about Nibbana that I cannot explain? You can find the answers yourself. Thank you, Sifu. At least it reminds me again that it is not a destination to grasp. Yes. Hi, Mali.
Hello, Sifu.
Hello.
Thank you. I just want to mention, when you mentioned about instead of trying to define what Nibbana is, maybe better to practice and learn.
Yeah.
So at the bottom of page 43, it says, "A child in the kindergarten should not quarrel about the theory of relativity." It's referring to Einstein's theory of relativity. If he follows his studies patiently and diligently, one day he may understand it.
Yeah, it's true. It's really true. Um, I rather replaces the word. Well, he says, right, we shall never understand it that way. And one day he will understand it. Because one day he'll understand it because he experiences. He experiences. He's not studying for it. He experiences. That's the practical part. That's the most important part. Right? And it says also, Nirvana is to be realized by the wise within themselves. Not outside themselves, within themselves. Right? Okay, we dedicate our merits first. May we share all our merits with all beings. May all beings be happy, be peaceful. May we wish more and more people will encounter the wise words of the Buddha. Come and study, understand and practice to liberate themselves, oneself from all the entanglements, eradicate all the fetters, and be ultimately free and happy and peaceful. Good night.